I was pregnant. Shaq's expression grew more thoughtful as he processed her words. Despite his fatigue from the day, his concern for the woman and her children deepened. "This is quite a load for you," Shaq remarked, his tone reflecting a blend of concern and respect. "You are quite strong." The woman gave a small smile, one that hinted at her resilience. "Thank you, sir. It's tough, but we manage." Shaq continued to observe the kids as he spoke. The boy had paused his drawing and was now looking up curiously at the tall figure of Shaq, while the little girl seemed oblivious, still snuggled in her blanket. It was this scene that finally spurred Shaq into action. "Let me do something special for you and your kids tonight," Shaq offered, his voice carrying a promise that immediately caught the woman's attention. "I can't just watch and not help." The woman looked hesitant at first, wary of accepting help from a stranger, but the genuine concern in Shaq's eyes was convincing. After a brief moment of contemplation, she nodded, allowing herself to accept his kindness. "Really? That would be wonderful," she replied, her voice mixing hope with disbelief. Shaq smiled, pulling out his phone to make a few quick calls. As Shaq arranged for assistance, the woman watched in amazement. The kindness of a stranger, particularly someone of Shaq's stature, was unexpected but immensely appreciated. It was a reminder of the goodness in the world, a stark contrast to her daily struggles. The night ended with Shaq ensuring that the woman and her children were taken care of, providing not just financial assistance, but also arranging for more comfortable accommodations for the night. As he drove away, the woman stood by the gas station, her children asleep in a car he had arranged for them, a grateful smile on her face. This act of kindness by Shaq, unexpected and profound, left an indelible mark not only on the woman's life, but also on those who witnessed it. So remember to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more heartwarming stories like this. Make sure you don't miss out on witnessing acts of humanity that leave us all speechless. Again, he decided he wasn't ready for more, Lauren shared, her voice steady but tinged with resignation. "Now, it's just us." Shaq nodded slowly, his eyes shifting between her and the children. "What's your name?" he inquired gently. "Lauren," she responded, "and these are Jaden and Mia." Shaq bent down to Jaden's height, immediately capturing the boy's attention. "What are you sketching there, big man?" he asked, his tone filled with warmth. Jaden proudly held up his chalk drawing, a vibrant, albeit messy depiction of a house. "It's where we're going to live one day," he declared brightly. "A big house with lots of rooms." Shaq's heart clenched at the boy's innocent dreams. He stood and turned to Lauren, who watched with apprehension. "Lauren, why don't you sit down for a bit?" Shaq suggested, motioning towards a nearby bench. "I'm really fine," she replied quickly, her voice tense. "I don't want to take up too much of your time." "You're not taking up my time," Shaq assured her firmly. "Come on." With a hesitant glance at her children to ensure their safety, Lauren followed him to the bench. Once seated, Shaq leaned in, elbows on his knees. "You work nights to support your kids," he began. "You're expecting another, and you're doing it all on your own. That's tough." Lauren gave a slight shrug, her hands protectively over her belly. "It's tough," she acknowledged, "but what other choice is there? They rely on me." Shaq's admiration for her deepened with each word. "Do you have any support? Family? Friends?" he probed. She shook her head, her voice fading. "My mom's in another state, and she's ill. I can't burden her, and friends." Her voice trailed off, leaving her feelings unspoken. Shaq sat back, exhaling slowly. Lauren's quiet resilience had struck a chord with him. "Lauren," he said, his tone resolute, "I can't just drive off tonight and forget I met you. I want to help." "Why?" "Because I can, and because you deserve it. You're out here, working tirelessly for your kids. That requires courage. Lauren looked puzzled, her brow furrowed. Help me. Why? Because you deserve it, Shaq repeated simply. You're doing everything possible for your children. That's courageous. Lauren seemed to want to protest, but instead she nodded, her tension easing slightly as though relieved of a burden she hadn't recognized. Let me help, Shaq continued. I'll return tomorrow, and we can discuss more. You don't have to face this alone. Tears appeared in her eyes, but she quickly brushed them away. Thank you, she murmured, almost at a loss for words. You don't need to say anything, Shaq replied, smiling kindly. Just take care of your kids and yourself. I'll see you tomorrow. As he walked back to his SUV, Lauren watched him leave, her thoughts swirling. She was uncertain what the next day would bring, but for the first time in a long while, she felt a flicker of hope. The following evening, Shaquille O'Neal returned to the gas station, pulling his SUV into the same spot. The scene was nearly identical to the night before, but this time, Shaq wasn't just there to fill up his tank. He emerged from the vehicle, carrying a large bag filled with groceries, ready to make a difference. Lauren was at the station's far end, helping a customer clean their windshield. Her actions were steady and deliberate, yet Shaq could see the burden on her shoulders from a distance. As he approached, Jaden was the first to spot him, his face lighting up with recognition. Mom, Jaden shouted, running towards Shaq. It's the tall guy from last night. Lauren turned abruptly, her eyes widening in surprise. Shaq? She questioned, her voice a blend of confusion and relief. She wiped her hands on her uniform and approached him, eyeing the bag in his hand. What brings you back here? I said I'd return, Shaq replied, offering a warm smile as he crouched to greet Jaden before standing again. I've brought some things for you and the kids. I thought you might need them. Lauren paused, her gaze shifting between Shaq and the bag. You really didn't have to do this, she murmured softly. Lauren, Shaq said gently, managing isn't the same as living. Let me help you. She bit her lip, clearly torn, but eventually nodded. Thank you, she whispered. Shaq handed her the bag and suggested, let's sit for a bit, motioning towards the bench they had sat on the previous night. She looked over at the station where a co-worker had just started their shift, then at her children who were now playing with the toys Shaq had brought. I can spare a few minutes, she agreed, sitting down. Shaq joined her, his large frame making the bench creak slightly. I want to hear more about you, how you ended up here, he said. Lauren sighed, her hands resting on her lap. It's not much of a story, she began. Just life, I suppose. But go ahead, tell me. Shaq encouraged her. I've got time. Lauren hesitated, then took a deep breath. I grew up in a small town, she explained. My mom raised me alone, working 2 jobs to keep us afloat. I admired her immensely, but vowed not to end up in the same situation. I aspired to do more, to be more. She paused, her gaze distant. I dreamed of being a chef, she continued. I loved to cook. My grandma taught me when I was young, and it became my escape. I even saved for classes after high school. Shaq listened intently. What happened then? Lauren's face turned somber. Life happened, she said. I met my husband, got pregnant with Jaden, and had to pause my dreams. At first, it was fine. We were happy. But then Mia arrived, and things got tougher. My husband began to withdraw, claiming he couldn't handle the stress. When I became pregnant again, he left. Her voice cracked slightly, but she quickly regained her composure. Since then, it's been just me and the kids. I do what I can. The gas station job isn't great, but it pays the bills, barely. I bring the kids here because there's no one else to watch them. It's not ideal, but we manage. Shaq's expression hardened as he absorbed her words. Her story was all too common, yet hearing it firsthand, seeing the weariness in her eyes and the resolve in her voice, impacted him differently. "You've endured a lot," Shaq observed after a moment, "but you're still standing. That speaks volumes about you." Lauren managed a weak smile. "What choice do I have?" she replied. "My kids rely on me. They're my world." Shaq looked over at Jaden and Mia, who were now playing tag near the gas pumps, their laughter a sharp contrast to their mother's heavy tale. "What about your dreams?" he asked. "Do you still want to be a chef?" Lauren fiddled with the hem of her uniform, her fingers twitching. "I don't know," she admitted. "Sometimes it feels too distant, like it belongs to another life. Right now, I'm just surviving." Shaq leaned in, his gaze firm. "Lauren, dreams don't have to stay just dreams. You have what it takes. I see it. You just need a bit of support." She looked at him, skepticism in her eyes. "Why would you help me? You hardly know me." "Because I can," Shaq stated simply, "and because you and your kids deserve it." Lauren's eyes welled with tears she fought to hold back. "I don't know what to say." "You don't have to say anything," Shaq replied, smiling kindly. "Just trust me. I've got some ideas to make things easier for you." They sat in silence for a moment, the hum of the gas station in the background. Lauren finally spoke, her voice a soft whisper. "Thank you," she said. "I don't know why, but thank you." Shaq smiled. "It's just the beginning, Lauren. We're going to get you back on your feet." As he stood to leave, Lauren watched him, a mix of gratitude and disbelief in her gaze. She had no idea what plans he had, but for the first time in many years, she felt a spark of hope inside her. Shaq headed back to his SUV, his mind buzzing with ideas. He knew it wasn't going to be a simple solution, but he was committed to doing whatever was necessary. Lauren and her children deserved more than mere survival. They deserved a chance to flourish, and Shaq was determined to ensure they received it. The following week was a whirlwind for Lauren. True to his promise, Shaq quickly set his plans into motion. Lauren's initial skepticism turned into cautious optimism as she began to see the changes materialize. It began with a phone call 2 days after their chat at the gas station. Lauren received a call from a woman named Lisa, sounding professional yet kind, who introduced herself as part of Shaq's foundation. Initially hesitant, Lauren was soon reassured by Lisa's calming presence. "Shaq told us about your situation," Lisa explained, "and we're here to assist. First, we'll address your immediate needs, food, bills, and medical support. Then, we'll consider the long term. How about a visit tomorrow?" Stunned, Lauren asked. "A visit to where?" "To your apartment," Lisa replied. "We'll bring some groceries and sort out the overdue rent. After that, we can discuss further steps." Agreeing, Lauren's voice trembled with gratitude. That evening, as she watched her children sleeping peacefully on the couch, she allowed herself to dream of a better future for the first time in years. The next day, 2 volunteers arrived at Lauren's apartment with groceries, diapers, and toys for the kids. They also delivered a letter confirming that her rent was paid for the next 6 months. Lauren was speechless as Jaden and Mia eagerly rummaged through the bags of food and gifts. One volunteer, a middle-aged man with a warm smile, reassured her, "This is just the beginning, Lauren. You're not alone anymore." In the days that followed, more pieces fell into place. Shaq had ensured Lauren's immediate needs were met and had begun laying the groundwork for her long-term stability. He arranged for her to join a culinary training program at a local community center, which catered to single parents and offered free childcare during classes. This meant Jaden and Mia were cared for while Lauren pursued her passion. When she arrived for her first class, She was welcomed by a group of other parents also aiming to cook professionally. Though nervous at the entrance, the instructor, a cheerful woman named Maria, greeted her warmly. "You're going to love it here," Maria assured her, handing Lauren an apron. "We focus on second chances and making dreams a reality." For the first time in a long while, Lauren felt she belonged. She immersed herself in the classes, her natural talent for cooking quickly evident. Maria often complimented her creativity and skill, encouraging her that she had the potential to go far. Meanwhile, Shaq kept in touch, visiting Lauren and her kids regularly, bringing gifts like new books for Jaden, a stuffed animal for Mia, and a set of chef's knives for Lauren. Each visit reinforced their bond, and Lauren began to view Shaq not only as a benefactor but as a true friend. One evening, Shaq visited the community center to watch Lauren in action. He observed from the back as she expertly prepared a dish, her focus and pride evident in her movements. After the class, Lauren approached him, wiping her hands on her apron. "What are you doing here?" she asked playfully yet warmly. "Just checking on my star student," Shaq responded. "Maria says you're a natural." Blushing, Lauren shook her head. "I still have so much to learn." "You're doing wonderfully," Shaq reassured her. "And I've got something to show you." He led her outside to his SUV and opened the trunk, revealing a large sign that read, "Lauren's Kitchen, coming soon." Lauren gasped, her hands covering her mouth. "Shaq, what is this?" she whispered, tears forming in her eyes. "It's your future," Shaq said. "There's a small space downtown that just became available. We're going to turn it into your very own café." Overwhelmed, Lauren stammered, How can I ever thank you?" "You don't have to," Shaq replied simply. "Just promise me one thing. When you're in a position to help someone else, you'll do it." Nodding, her voice cracking, Lauren promised, "I will." The weeks that followed were among the busiest and most fulfilling of Lauren's life. With Shaq's support, she worked with contractors to design her café, a quaint space with a cozy dining area and an open kitchen where patrons could watch her cook. She named the café Lauren's Kitchen, a tribute to her journey and the people who supported her. On opening day, the café was bustling with friends, family, and new patrons eager to try her dishes. Jaden and Mia helped out, their laughter permeating the space. Lauren was a whirl of activity in the kitchen, her face alight with pride and joy. Shaq watched from a corner table, his heart full as he observed the scene. When Lauren finally took a moment to sit with him, a plate of her signature dish in hand, Shaq raised his glass of water. "To new beginnings," he toasted. "To dreams becoming reality," Lauren replied, her smile brilliant. As the evening drew to a close, Lauren surveyed her café, soaking in the laughter and warmth filling the room. For the first time in years, she felt truly at peace, knowing this was just the beginning. Thank you for watching. If this story moved you, don't forget to subscribe for more heartfelt tales. Explore our channel for other videos that will touch your heart and inspire hope. Share this video with friends and family to spread the message of kindness and compassion.